Hi everybody, it's olliemathews, and thanks for watching my next video on my channel about recovering from narcissistic abuse. Today what I wanted to talk about was actually a response to one of the comments in my mother's phone call video. And the reason I wanted to talk about it, because it was an exchange between myself and this person, is because it's a perfect indication and it's a perfect example of what it's like to deal with a narcissist and how a narcissist, if you're not careful, operates, and how a narcissist will get you to second guess yourself and start turning things back on you, and what a narcissist does. And I'm not going to read comment for comment here. I'm going to try to paraphrase where I can. And I'm not going to mention the person's name. I mean, you're welcome to go to the thread and see it, but I don't want to give the person too much of a hard time, because the person does say that they were an abuse victim, and that could very well be true. And the problem is, as we all know, is a lot of times the abuse victim actually becomes the victimizer, which, and you can't sometimes tell what's what. And you really got to stop and slow down and analyze what's being said. And once you do, it's usually pretty clear what's going on. And what this was a response to somebody else's comment about my mother saying she'll be dead soon. And this person said that there was a problem. She had a problem with context, and it was so sad that somebody needed to publish this conversation, especially with their mother. And I wasn't sure what they meant at the time, so I asked them to clarify what they meant by context, and I made it clear that I wasn't ashamed that I released this, and I did it to let other people know, to let other people hear it, because they've heard the same thing in their life, and this would help. Somebody else also mentioned the same thing, and this person then responded that saying it was asking if posting it was a disrespectful thing to do or a very narcissistic thing to do. Either way, it's sad. Humiliation and punishment are the narc's most favorite things. Food for thought. So what this person's obviously doing is trying to turn around back on me that, oh, well, you're the narcissist. So obviously, saying that it was disrespectful, I replied back that, posting it is disrespectful. And I'm like, well, what would be calling my wife a whore and threatening to kill her repeatedly be? And, her next reply, is pretty telling. I've been so harassed by a classic psychopathic narc. I have spoken similar words, regretfully. Eventually, the victim finally loses it. And by then, it's hard to tell the difference between who is the victim and who is the narc, which, of course, is all part of the game. So how do we know that you're not the narc baiting and harassing your mother over several years or even decades? Not only that, how do we know that you haven't recruited your wife to do the same in what's called abuse by proxy? We all know by now that exploitation and engineering impossible situations just to humiliate and punish the victim, all while seeming innocent and saying, "See, it's not me, it's them," is what the narc psycho is all about. Just saying. Well, first of all, this person doesn't even acknowledge my original question. And they immediately tip their hand. Well, I've spoken the same words as your mother, but not because it was my fault. It was because somebody else tricked me and set me up in order to say this. So once again, there's no responsibility on the narcissist. The responsibility, it's all your fault still. Well, you made me act like this, even when you catch them. even when you catch them. Okay, my mother did say the same thing, and you know, on the Facebook thread, I somehow forced her and tricked her into threatening me, calling me a loser, threatening to kill my wife, and calling her a whore. That's all. That was my plan. And this person says, you know, I may have planned this over decades. Decades. I'm only 41. So what are you saying? When I was a kid, I was been plotting against my mother, and I knew to record the phone call at that exact time, because I knew that's when it was going to be, my evil plan was all going to come together. And not only that, I also was able to trick my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, into going along with my diabolical scheme. Also because I'm the narc. And to trick my mother into a reaction to make her look bad, so now I look innocent. Because this woman says this is what happened to her. I basically relayed that in my next message to her. And you know, I let her know, like, this is going to be a very good topic for my next video. To which she responded, "Yikes! Wow! I was just saying. At some point, it's difficult to tell who's who. Putting something up like that is not in your best interest. It doesn't make you look innocent by any means. That is, to anyone who's truly been with a classic narc. As far as the accusing and calling me an abuser goes, well, I'll let the paranoia speak for yourself and to your audience. This is what the narc does. Whether this woman is a narc or not herself, I don't know. Sure seems like the tendencies. Do you see how they take a step back? And almost like, well, maybe you're misunderstanding it. And I'm really looking out for your bad, because putting this out is just going to make you look bad in everyone's eyes. Because if you truly understood, like, as she's saying, I understand and you don't, then you wouldn't be saying this. It's all about keeping you on your edge and keeping you on and making you second guess yourself. That's what the narc does. It's about that psychological control and getting you not to believe in yourself. And then at the end of calling me saying, paranoia will speak for itself. Paranoia. Now mind you, this is a person, and I say this in my next message, accusing me of a decades-long scheme dating back to when I was a child to set my mother up to appear to be abusive. But in reality, I'm the abuser. And this woman's saying I'm paranoid. And I make it clear, I'm like, look, this woman is upset, and I've had a couple others. Anybody who's, I think, gets upset by that recording, they're upset because they might as well have been that voice on that recording, because they've been there. And this woman admitted, I've been that voice, but it's not my fault. Yeah, I've been that voice, but somebody pushed me to do it. And that's like, you must have pushed this woman to do this. She exposes herself a little more, and I tell her every time you're posting, you're just showing your agenda more and more. And again, you guys are free to go back to I haven't deleted anything. You're free to read it yourself. Okay, and this is what she replies. Okay, fair enough. Again, my point being, it's tempting to retaliate or get revenge by doing something like this. However, it doesn't serve any purpose really, except to make me suspect. On the site menwhoareabused.com, he puts up dialogue like this, for examples, without mentioning names, etc. That's how it's written. That's not about hiding or cowering. It's about not being the narcissist, but still giving examples. And yes, I was nearly driven mad by a psychopathic narcissist for a short time. I did sound like this. He was an absolute trigger, and he knew it. He did what he did on purpose, quote unquote, to prove I was the bad guy, not him. After 15 years of nonstop gaslighting setups and pretty much you name it, he did it. The whole point was to get me to that rage point, and it worked. See what I'm saying? So victims might not take this very well. Honestly, might think it's you, not her. Well, first of all, nobody's thought of that. Nobody's said it to me but her, but Looney Tunes. Secondly, like, do you see what she's doing again with this person? First, you're comparing me to what somebody else does. I know the site she's talking about. I think it's a good site, menwhoareabused.com. They're free to run their blog any way they want, as I'm free to run my blog any way I want. Once again, this is what the narcissist says. I agree with what this person does, so therefore you should do A, B, and Z. Don't tell me how to run my blog, as you should not let anybody tell you how to run your life or run whatever you got. But this is what narcissists want to do. They want to come in and they want to shut you down because they don't like what you're saying. And they don't like because it hits too close to home. And then her second point about being driven mad by the mad psychopathic narcissist for a short, first she says it's for a short time, but then it went on for 15 years of nonstop. So this guy was putting you on for 15 years, and he may have been, but it's a sketchy story. And it's not consistent because you're saying it was a short time, and then you're saying in the same next sentence, it was not for 15 to prove 15 years. It was over. It took him a 15-year plan to get you to look like you're nutty, to get you to blow up and look abusive. This is it doesn't even make sense, but this is what the narcissist does. And my parents did it to me, and I'm sure your abusers have done it to you. And when you stop and you think and you remove yourself from it and think about how ridiculous what they're saying is, this person's, and I'm lucky enough that she wrote it out so it's there for everybody to see that it's nutty. But if you're not ready to deal with a narcissist and you're not on edge, somebody like this could get into your head, and somebody like this will get you to second guess yourself, and then you're right back to square one again. Okay? You have to be careful, even on the narcissism help blogs. There are narcissists there. There are people that are too far gone. There are people that are probably legitimate abuse victims, but they're too far gone. They've crossed over into the realm of narcissism, narcissism themselves. And to hear my mother's phone call and to think it's amazing. It's amazing people would think that, or it would be said. I'm not amazed. And the reason I'm bringing it up, because she's really been one of the very, very few negative responses. The reason she's doing it, because it's hitting too close to home, and that's what you got. What is this person's real motivation and what they're saying to me? And that's what you always have to keep in mind. Okay? Because you know how you feel. I know how I feel. You know how you feel about your abuse. You remember vividly, and you've probably been gaslighted about it most of your life. Don't let somebody else come in and especially somebody who says they're an abuse victim themselves. Remember, they can be a narcissist just as easily. Just as easily. Nobody can tell you about your experiences. Remember that. Okay, and that's what these people try to do. They try to tell you about what's in your head and what you're really thinking and what your motivation is. And that's nonsense. That is nonsense. Nobody knows what's going on in your head better than you. And don't let anybody ever second guess you. And I explained to her what my motivation was, and I could care less, and I said that in my next paragraph. And, and I told her lastly to stop projecting her experiences onto me. Because what she's talking about going on, she's comparing her life to her experiences to mine. And her experiences were as an adult in a consensual relationship with some kind of domestic partner, whether she was Whether it was a husband, a boyfriend, she didn't specify. And she's applying those dynamics to a child and a mother, and father in my case, but a mother. That's absolute lunacy. And that's why I said this person has probably crossed over, because they can't see, like, oh my God, I'm comparing. And I'm not saying if it happened to her, because what she's saying could be absolutely legitimate. Could be absolutely legitimate. But to still be able to look at that and say, this is a person, listen to my phone call with my mother. And I know she's looked at other videos on my channel, because she's commented on my other stuff. So she knows this is deeper. And I guess she got to the phone call after she saw my other videos. And I guess it hit too close to home. And to compare what you hear on that to a consensual domestic relationship, but to a child and their parent, you're too far gone. That's nutty. And a narcissist will do that. And narcissists are going to do that in your life as well. Okay, I'm sure you've heard the comparisons, and in your mind when it's going on, you're buying it. Until you step away and they're at it, and you can think coherently, and you're like, why did I even buy into this? And you're so friggin' mad at yourself for even falling into it. Don't be. It's easy. I mean, we're all abuse victims. You know, the triggers are all there for us. You just got to be able to recover from it quickly, react to it, and be on guard for it, and be able to ward it off. And that was really my last response, because she replied back, and that was going to be my last response. Trying to say she had no problem with me, and she was speaking as a victim, trying to say, well, I just call it like I see it. Maybe I was projecting. I'll certainly think about that. Typical narcissist response. Maybe I was. I'll give it some food for thought. Maybe she's being honest there. I don't know. I mean, I might be a little jaded after a response. She admits later. Secondly, obviously, I have a problem with this, and you have a problem with me, or we wouldn't keep writing back and forth now, would we? LOL. I hate LOLs. As for the positive results, that just speaks for the age of entertainment. People can't help watching a train wreck now, can they? Lastly, if you knew a little bit more about narcissism, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying to me. You need to think about what I've said. Maybe you'll get it. Maybe you won't. In the meantime, I hope we can close this conversation. Consider it great dialogue. Yada, yada, yada. Once again, you're the bigger person. You know, she wants to back out. She's the bigger person. I don't understand narcissism like she does. She's the expert, but she'll be the bigger person. And let it walk. You got to know when to also cut your losses with these people as well. Know you're fighting. It was clear I was fighting. I wasn't really fighting. I was just going back and forth because I thought some of the stuff did need to be responded to from my end. But know when to cut your losses. Know when you're talking, like I said in my last video, know when you're talking to a freaking Terminator. It's a machine. Can't reason with it, can't argue with it, it doesn't feel compassion, empathy, it doesn't feel anything. It doesn't feel anything other than what it wants for itself. That phone call obviously touched a nerve with this person because that was their voice on there, could have been their voice. I've heard from so many people saying like that could have been my mother's voice on the phone. Oh my God. There's a lot of us out there. Don't let your experiences be minimized. Even though mine's on tape. Mine's recorded, it's on YouTube, it's got views. It's out there. And people can still make you second guess it. My mother knows this tape is out there. They know it. What did they do? Did the same thing this woman did. Said, oh, well, it wasn't. Yeah, I said it, but I was set up. It wasn't. Listen, like I said, I've made it clear. I'm having my issues with my daughter. She's having some issues with me at this point that I know will clear up. But if you think I would ever call my daughter a loser, threaten. It's so far removed from anything I could ever do to my child. And that's how I know I'm better than them still. Okay? My parents claim they were abused, and they might have been, and I'm sure, you know, I know my mother was. But at some point, I knew when I was an adult, it was, you don't do it. You don't ever do. They made a choice, as did all of your abusers. Eventually, they make a choice. Okay? It's not this, oh, well, that's bullshit. I knew it was wrong. They knew it was wrong. Don't ever short yourself. So the moral of the video is, always have your guard up for a narcissist, because they will get in your head. Nobody knows your experiences better than you. And don't ever let anyone tell you differently. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm sorry it took me so long to get this one out. I got sick after Thanksgiving, and had some technical issues on this end. I had to end up downloading new drivers. Doesn't really matter. It's fixed. So I'm going to be trying to put out 2-3 videos a week now. Really get into the groove. Thank you for your comments. They've been great. And I will see you real soon. Thanks again for watching. Take care.